Greetings, friends. I'm Kathy, and I'm in Vermont. We're all over the planet. In crazy weather, we're having a snowstorm. The West Coast is having a tsunami and flooding. Susie is in Cork, just recovering from storms over there. So welcome. Thank you for coming to spend an hour with us. I'm going to pass it to Susie.
Thanks, Kathy. So good to have you here today. And, we are this global audience coming from every corner of the earth. And hopefully it'll all go according to plan, given that we've had a few challenges just because of weather-related outages in the last couple of hours here as well. But it's all going to be super smooth and cool. I'm excited about our guest today. She's based in sunny California, so I'm sure, even though I know you're having some systems going on there, but normally sunny California. Barbara is a joyful, and I can really vouch for the joyful. She's such a bright, beautiful light spark. She's a psychic, evidential, and trance medium. And she just brings through messages for people, really helping them with their grief and with their, when they've lost a loved one, bringing just real messages from spirit through. And I think it's all in the title today. It's funny, some of the things that spirit has to say. And hopefully over the course of today, Barbara will share a little bit of some anecdotes of things that she's experienced through her work. But warm welcome to you from all of us here. Thanks for being here, Barbara.
It was
Barbra
meant
Banner.
to be.
Indeed, eventually. So Barbra Banner is in California, and she's here with us today. And she's would you just bring us back to, I know things started moving around and your whole life kind of got shaken and stirred, let's say, during COVID, like many of us did. So I think if you want to just take us, what was your life before COVID, and then jump into...
Yeah. For 35 years, I was a advertising and marketing maven, with big agencies and big companies. And it was a wonderful career for me. And then, it was time to move on. And during COVID, all of a sudden, there's like a lot of paranormal activity going on here, and things were flying off the shelf, and a clock went off the wall, and orbs in a video I did for an audition. And the final coup de grace was in the bedroom. The fan was going so fast, and the light was blinking. And I screamed, "John, you've got to come in here." He goes, "No, you've got to come in here." The fan was also doing the same thing in the den, and the light was flashing. And the thing is that there was no light bulb in the one in the bedroom. I had taken that out a while back to put in another one. So I just said, okay, spirit something's going on. I got to figure out what this is. So I took a class with Suzanne Giesman. I had never even meditated before. I just deer in the headlights. And within 7 months, I had hung a shingle and was doing lots of mediumship readings with other mediums and donating readings. And it happened very fast, very fast. But I had been told that I was doing it for 1,000 years. That's why I sort of hit the ground running. So...
Wow, you really were on the fast track and it sounds to me like it didn't take anything out of you. It didn't faze you whatsoever. It's like you were ready for it.
Well, I was told that, if you want to be good, you have to have patience and practice. So I went into it I just jumped in, I 5 readings a day kind of thing. I burned out after a while and needed to recuperate, but I just wanted to get in as much as I could. I was told that every reading you can learn something. So I just figured I can learn a lot more in 5 readings than 2 a day. So.
Wow. So spirit came knocking and you answered. You were like, okay, I'm here. I'm open. I'm willing. And then I suppose you have to kind of figure out how to manage the acceleration of that, like you said, so that you don't end up burning out or, overdoing it. So how did that happen for you? How did you navigate that?
Took a little time off, couple of months. And during that time, I kept getting messages, you got to get rid of those two friends. They're toxic. So
Okay.
that was, it all happened at a time where I just, had to let go of two really longtime friends who were narcissistic and very toxic to me, and they were not doing anything good for me. So there was a lot that I could do during that time to just sort of heal and get back to my normal, bubbly and busy all the time self. And then I just got back into it like I hadn't missed a day.
Oh, okay. So you had to kind of clean up things, I suppose, your own
Yes.
kind of energy.
Everything
And,
happens for a reason, okay?
yeah. Because you did a lot of work for the Women's Crisis Hotline. You were involved with the crisis response team in the city. Is that correct? Like, so
Oh, yeah.
you were. That sounds like a really like. Can you just expand a bit
Yeah.
more about that?
I joined like a crisis hotline for women, and I had so much training and in that, and I learned so much about every kind of crisis people can go through, from grief to homelessness, whatever. It was wonderful, and I did that for 14 years. And then I went to Cedars-Sinai, one of the biggest hospitals in the country, and I've been in the ER for like maybe 15 years. I still do that one morning every week. And then the greatest thing happened. Someone told me about the city's crisis response team, where you're trained for like a whole months, and you go on the scene where there's a police or fire people, and there is a deceased body on the scene that I walk into, and the family or a witness has come on the scene. So the police need to do their work and investigate and measure and pictures in it. So that's why they bring the crisis response team on, so we can sit with the family and support them.
Wow.
And my training, in everything, helped me understand that if someone takes their life, they need to be treated in a different way than somebody who's, been run over by a truck. You know what I mean? Every kind of situation needs a different approach. But what the most important thing is doing is just listening, just sitting there, and, just holding their hand and letting them be. So with all that we know, a lot of times we're just there for them. And then we give them resources to continue the support.
And
It was fascinating, believe me, being called out at 3 a.m. to go down to, South Central, which is like the gang part of LA, and it's scary,
Wow, but it really was preparing you for where you were going next, by all accounts, to be able.
But I didn't know that. I had no idea that I was going to be, talking to people on the other side. So
how did you feel about the other side? Had you a strong kind of spiritual sense of,
when I was 13, I felt I had a little juju. Okay. Not quite sure. A little intuition. Oh, I knew she was going to wear that orange dress. And I told my friends, I think I'm a witch, because I didn't know what a medium was. I thought, okay, there's got to put a name on what's going on. And I was always, after that, I was always watching paranormal TV shows and ghosts and Sylvia Brown, a lot of the old time mediums. I was so into that. So I knew that was interesting to me. And so I believed in the afterlife. From my teenage years. But I wasn't one of those kids who was in the crib and orbs flying around. Okay. I was not aware of anything. They kept me in the dark until later in life. It happens when your soul is ready. My soul was ready later.
There's a divine timing. I think they came knocking on a lot of doors during that COVID time,
Yes.
because when we met you a couple of weeks ago, I know Ramsey and I were sharing that that's when we met online, you know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
I thought I was signing up for Awakened Mind, you know, because I'm interested in consciousness, and I thought that's what I was heading into. I didn't realize the third letter M was mediumship. I nearly fell off the chair when they told me,
Right.
"Oh yeah, you're going to be doing a reading." I was like, "A reading for what?" Like, it's not something you can read a book and teach yourself. It's just something that almost, would you say, like spontaneously happens when you're in the right moment at the right time.
Well, believe me, I couldn't have done it without my classes, and it's something that I will
Yeah.
always be studying and learning forever. And I was lucky enough to go to the Arthur Findlay College, aka Hogwarts, the real Hogwarts, several times for some stints, and that was great energy.
Kathy, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'm curious on the blurb that you wrote on Facebook to advertise this podcast. You said, "Does Spirit really expect me to say that?" So I'm curious, what are those kind of things that
they
have really?
Yeah, there's been a lot of things. One of them I can't even say because I really can't say, but maybe I will later. I have very playful, and you're supposed to have spirit guides who work with you in your own personality, because it works a lot better than if they're really not with you. So I even had my spirit guides were contacting my clients, telling them they had an appointment with me on like a Wednesday at 2:00. 25 clients got that same thing. And what was interesting is in the message box, it had a name of somebody. I didn't even know who they were. So I was busy calling people, saying, I know there must be some technical glitch. I have no idea. I'm not trolling for client readings. I don't know. But one of the people I called and I said, look, there's a name in here. It says Rosa Rodriguez. I said, who is that? Why is it on your confirmation? She said, Rosa's my housekeeper. I said, how would I know the name of your housekeeper? Okay. I've seen you twice in a year here. And I said, I really was puzzled at that point. I said, is there any reason she would want a reading? She said, oh my God. She said, her son died 2 days ago. And as I was talking to people, they all had something going on in their life. And one of the names was someone's daughter who needed a call right away. It was crazy. I've got goosebumps now. Anyway, it was a lot of work for me. I needed a secretary to get back to everybody. And it was I said, please don't do that. Just go to them, but don't make me part of this, shenanigans. And they did it again. Anyway, some other very funny things, in my sessions, I do a question and answer part. And I always say, I'm going to hijack the first question. Okay. I don't even want to know what the question is. Okay. Mm-hmm. You just tell it to your dad and I'll just tell you what he shows me. So they like to have a little prop. So it's a boat a lot on a nice lake. So the girl, the daughter is in the front of the boat and she's rowing, and the dad is in the back of the boat and he's rowing. And it's also symbolic. I get a lot of symbolism of him supporting her and trying to keep her on the right path. And I said, but there's another guy in the middle. And I said, oh my God, your dad is grabbing him by the neck and he threw him overboard. And he said, we're not picking him up. Let's go. I said, whoa, he's going to drown. I said, what the hell was your question? She said, how do you like my new boyfriend? Whoa. I said, okay, you got your answer. And I get things like that. And they're so funny. And I don't even know.
But that's what makes it real, Barbara, isn't it?
It's real. You can't make this stuff up.
Because you couldn't make that up. Yeah.
No, and exactly. I didn't even know what the question was. So I find that it's not like a gimmick or anything. It's like, as a medium, you want to get your mind out of it. We're just a vessel. We're just like, just to let me know what to say. And sometimes if your critical mind, or it can change the accuracy or give you doubt. So I try to keep my mind out as much as possible. I also had this guy. I had somebody's niece come, and she wanted to see her uncle. And I said, okay, I've got a man here, and he's riding on the back of a space, like a rocket ship, but a small one. And he's going, go. And then he's hitting his butt like you would do a horse. And he's going, giddy up. I said, do you have any idea what is happening here? She said, yeah. Like he was a horse. He kept, anyway, I said, what is happening here? She said, I understand why he wanted to go really fast and is hitting the back of a horse. I said, why? She said, he was a bookie. You know what a bookie is? They do bets on horses. You can't make this stuff up. It's so crazy.
Isn't it great to know that, like, spirit doesn't lose their sense of humor? You know what I mean?
They don't.
But I think when I was studying with Suzanne Temple, and we had Suzanne as a guest a couple of episodes back, and she was saying that spirit will always use what you've already got, like, you know what I mean? So whatever your interests are, it'll always use, whatever's in your subconscious mind. Like, so
movies,
you've really got an amazing sense of humor, a wild imagination. So spirit can really kind of, you've got a full palette of technicolors going on in there, and spirit's coming in going, oh my God, this is amazing.
Let's make it crazy.
And it's not crazy. Like, it makes it very real. I think it really brings it to life, like, doesn't it?
Yeah, they give me movies to reference, and it's wild. It's just wild. And funny on this side, their essence is going to be funny too. They're going to give us a very interesting visual. One of the most interesting, I have to say, is I had some parents who lost like a 20-something-year-old son. A question, don't tell me what it is. And I said, oh, this is very strange what he's showing me. I said, your son is showing himself scrunched up into a jar, a glass jar, on the shelf of a mad scientist or Frankenstein. I mean, it's crazy. And I said, does this have anything to do with your question? She goes, nope, nothing, nada, nothing. I said, well, what was the question? Because I want to see why he gave me that. She said, well, my husband and I went to a concert of my son's favorite band, and he didn't live long enough to see it. So we brought a jar of his ashes to the event and spread them around. And I said, okay, you don't see the connection of your son coming in a jar and you bringing a jar with his ashes to the event. She said, oh, now I get it. What can I do? You can't so those kind of things that are just, that make what's the most important thing about these things that are so specific and fun is it helps the client realize that, hey, my loved one is right. My son is here. He knows that we did this. He was with us. And it gives them hope, and it gives them belief. That's what the good evidence does. It has nothing to do with me, but it makes them understand his consciousness is definitely here, because nobody would know that. So yeah.
Beautiful. That's so special. And I think, that's what it takes. Not every medium, I think, has the same gift. Like everybody is a
Everybody's
little bit
different.
different.
And
Yeah.
that's what about going to learn and from classes from a lot of different people. You're going to take something away from everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can just leave behind what doesn't serve you or resonate with you. So you're a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one. One very important medium told me, you shouldn't do any humor in you can't do that. It's very sacred. No, that's inappropriate. And
Wow.
and then another one from the UK, Tony Stockwell said, you be who you are. You be authentic. That's why people come to you, because of who you are. There's a million mediums out there, and so many are so good, but people find you because of you. So don't ever change for anybody. Just be yourself.
I love that. That's great advice for
It is.
anybody who is studying or because I know whenever we've been in, teaching modules or training or doing stuff online, like the rational mind comes in and it's trying to, make you be right. And it's
That's
really getting in the
wrong,
way. It's like,
Gotta
oh no, get out. So the
get
less
out.
you know about the sitter, the better. The less you know about the deceased, the better. Because the more free the information can flow in. And I always say, I used to say it to Kathy when we were training together, just drop the package, just drop it off. You know what I mean? It'll either mean something or it won't. It's not our job to
Exactly.
interpret it.
And you never know. It could be the most banal thing. It could be, you could say, oh, there's a tuna fish can laying around. And that could be, they could go into hysterics crying because that was so meaningful. You don't know. You just don't know. And so you just have to say it, and it'll land where it's supposed to be. And just believe that spirit doesn't want to give you the wrong information. And just be open to it. I'll tell you. And I don't know about you, but it makes me very nervous if someone, tries to ask something like, what was my nickname when I was 6? Okay. That just sets me, my mind goes, I don't like to do that. But I did have one, and I told the woman, because she comes every year, because she misses her husband. I keep telling her, stop testing me. Okay. Somehow he usually came through and gave me, I said, you can't keep doing that. So she said, all right, well, listen, you keep telling me my husband is around me, and I haven't felt him for 6 months. And I'm really worried. Maybe he has a new girlfriend or something. I mean, she was really suffering. And she said, if he's really around, he will be able to tell you what TV show I watched during the pandemic. And I thought to myself, okay, I am not going to be able to pull that one out of anywhere. Okay. That's it. Just so I said, okay, that spirit will give you what you need to know now. And I will always ask, and not always what you want to know. And the husband, who was very cheeky, he said it was Outlander. So I said, your husband said it's Outlander. She said it was Outlander. Okay, I believe it. I believe it. And she said, you have no idea how much you uplifted me now, because every time I do this with you, it makes me believe again that he is around me, even if I don't feel him. Even if I don't feel him bump me or flick the lights or something, that he is here. He couldn't give me that if he wasn't. And he never would have watched that show with me. He would have turned that off real quick. So, but he was a real trooper to sit through, 7 seasons of Outlander with me and all that sex.
Aww.
So, yeah.
I've never seen Outlander, so the reference is lost, but I'm picking up where you're going.
Watch it. Watch it. Okay.
Okay. Are there any other ways that spirit gets in contact with you, Barbara? In the dream state, or if you're out doing the shopping, you know what I mean? If you're just not in a formal setting with the sitter.
Yes. I'll tell you a really funny story. So I get some drop-ins, like at maybe between 3 and 4 a.m. sometime. But I know if they're going to come and wake me up, they know that it better be good. Okay. Don't you
Yeah.
come in and say, tell her a feather came. Okay. I'm not doing that. Anyway, I had a reading with a woman who was very skeptical, and it was really, the energy was really difficult. And everything I said, it was like, well, that's too broad. You could have read in the paper. I ended it a little early. And I said, I called her. I said, your husband came to me in the middle of the night, and this is what he showed me. He showed me a half of a toasted bagel, and it was scooped out in the middle. You know how people scoop out the bagel to get rid of like five calories so they can fill it with 400 calories of something else. So I said, does that mean anything to you? And she goes, that's nothing. I don't even know that. Why are you even telling me that? That's so ridiculous. What do I know? I said, okay, just beware that that's what he came to tell me at 3:08. She gets in touch with me like 4 days later, and she had taken her daughter to see her grandparents. So the client says, well, my father-in-law said, I came up with an invention. I invented something, and I have a prototype, and I want to show you. And so he shows her some contraption, and he goes, you know what it is? She goes, I have no idea. What is it? He said, it's a bagel scooper. Okay. You can't make it up. And at that point, because she was still so skeptical, her and the family, because she told the family that this was already told to her, like, last week, they were amazed. They were laughing.
Wow.
They were crying. They knew their son was around them and knew exactly what they're doing, and that she would be there and this would happen. They know everything. They know everything.
That's a really cool story. Like, like that's like something that hadn't even been invented yet. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
missing time. It's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah, cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, if I've had dreams.
I don't dream.
Oh, don't you? And
No, I don't get dreams
all of
about
this
that stuff.
information. It's like the evidence was able to come through when my rational mind was asleep. I didn't ask for it, mind you, and I woke up and I did not know what to do with it. I was like, what am I supposed to do with all of this? And I meditate every day. So I just meditated and I thought, oh, I'll just know at the end, just show me. And I reached out to this person who I knew this dream was connected to. And like the stuff that came meant nothing to me, but it was very meaningful for the other person.
her.
So that's why I always really encourage people, like, when you do have, whether you're a medium or not, everybody
Write it down. Write it down.
Write
I did.
it down,
Yeah.
share it. Yeah.
It might mean something. I have gotten downloads in the middle of the night where I feel it. I'm like buzzing. And one time I was buzzing for a month. Okay. I just was walking around in a constant state of buzz, and I didn't know what they gave me. And I, asked one of the mentors, you'll pull it up when you need it. Okay. Don't worry about it. Because I had no recollection. In fact, when I do a trance message, at the end of some of my sessions, I say, I hope it resonated, because I don't remember anything unless they bring something up. Once in a while, spirit will say something totally off the cuff during a trance, and somehow I remember that. I said, your daughter, I said, what's with the I'm still doing origami. Okay. Like that didn't go in, you're on the path, and this, it didn't fit. And they said, the few days before she passed in the hospital, we brought her a box to do origami, and she did it and gave us the box with origami stuff in it. And I'm so happy she's still doing it. But to me, that sounded like, what the hell is that doing in this trance message about, follow the sun, and just they'll say what they want. they test me a lot, I have to say.
Can you just clarify for people who mightn't be as familiar with the terminology trance, for example, like a
It's like
trance medium versus
trance
psychic?
channeling, you know, that you are the difference is what for psychic you're awake and cognizant of everything, and that's sort of a different energy than having a mediumship reading. When spirit is giving me evidence and telling me things to tell you and showing me things, I'm like this. I don't have to take a nap or anything. It's just I'm here and I'm conscious and everything I can tell you. But when I go into trance, I put myself, you know, that really dreamy state right before you fall asleep. That where your mind is just free and everything. That's sort of like it is. And I get myself into that frame of mind, and then spirit just tells me, shows me whatever. And but I don't remember it. It's not like I'm thinking it or anything. And I wake up and just hope that, and it seems to be very accurate. They always say I could take everything or everything except this.
So do people kind of contact you? I suppose, does trance come after you become more familiar with somebody, or
no, I took classes. I was afraid. Yeah, sometimes it comes.
My question is like, is it just, it depends on the who and the how and the when, or is it like
no,
very intentional on your part? It is intentional
most of the time. Sometimes when I'm just doing my evidential with a spirit, I can hear that they're taking my voice away from me. Because I mean, I'm not one of those channelers who sounds like, you know, Beelzebub or some weird thing. I just my voice just a little softer and a little different, you know, a little different timing. And sometimes I'll say, oh, I think spirit wants to do the trance message right now. So I just sink in and do it. But I can feel that they're trying to get me out of the way. And otherwise at the end, I just do it. I just sink down into a lower, higher vibration, I guess, but into a lower state.
Yeah, wow. And it must feel really different coming out of that state, I imagine, like, because there's that transition point.
Yeah.
Like, what's that like?
Well, I do everything fast. Okay. Everyone who knows me say she just, you know, everything. So, and even my trance mentor, you know, some people take 5 minutes. I like go like this. I go like this. I said, I hope you understood that. And so I'm out of it in like a minute.
Okay.
I do everything fast. And that's one of the things spirit does for me. They know don't waste my time. Let's get out of here. Okay. So they help me do that. They're working with me, with my personality of cut to the chase. Okay. I don't need to be woozy for 5 minutes here.
Mm-hmm.
And Barbara, so you've done your day's work. Your calendar. I know from even just trying to schedule this, you're very busy. You're always moving and trying to make your calendar work, because you do a lot of one-to-one sittings with people online. And so, do you find like you have so many hours a day where you can function really highly at this level, and then do you just have to kind of switch it all off and, I don't know,
so
go for a walk with your dog or something?
The trance literally sucks the energy out of my brain. That's why I don't do it till the end of a session. Otherwise, I'm not going to be on all 4 rotors or whatever. My engine is not going to be on turbo boost. So I do try to keep that at the end. I have found that I can only do 2, maybe 3 one-on-one readings a day. And the podcasts, which I do a lot of podcasts, they don't take any energy out of me. So I can throw in 2 podcasts a day if I want, but I also, I don't have a long waiting list. That's not what Spirit and I were talking about. I I believe that when someone needs a reading, they don't want to hear that, okay, next July in 2027, I'm ready, or even 6 months, or even a month. So I move the calendar around or change some things so people can, or take things away, so that when somebody really needs it, I can make it happen, if at all possible.
That's great. Yes, some people probably need stuff right away.
Right away. They haven't slept since they made the appointment. They're so jacked up to do it. So I understand that. And I always say that spirit is going to handle my calendar. Those who need it most. Oh, I didn't even link those two things together when they took over the calendar. Okay. Well, they didn't do a good job giving everyone Wednesday at 2:00. Okay. That was going to be a problem. So I will handle the calendar, but you just get the people to the page. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's what happened here. We were coming to the end of the year. We had kind of gone through with a lovely lot of guests. This is like episode 32 of season 3. We've done a lot of incredible conversations here. And on 11/11, I said, listen, I don't know who are we going to have on the show next, or maybe we wrap it up at the end of the year, because I wasn't pushed one way or another.
Right.
Oh my God. No, I said, well, look, just fill it up. Not joking. And I think you were one of them. Like within about 2 or 3 days, 6 people had emailed me. And they were like, I was like, oh, okay. And like every week now I get at least 4 or 5 people contacting me directly. And I'm trying to manage it all.
Oh, tell me about it. I work with a company that does that for me. And I feel like sometimes I'm overwhelmed with all the paperwork of getting the appointments, put it on the thing, and where's my link? Where's my link? So it's like a lot of stuff goes in to get it all together.
I'm curious. People, we all get our messages different ways, and you talked about, you obviously see visuals
and hear.
You hear. And so talk about personally how your messages come to you.
I also, they make me move. Okay. So I see, I hear, and I feel, not all at once on everyone, but I'm very visual. I can identify somebody's smirk on their face. And I said, that little smile she goes, yes. So I can get in very, very deep, and, they had a bulbous tip on their nose, but it's very funny when they move me. So I had a woman who was in spirit. No, there was this woman said, tell me something that's going on, in my life. How do I know that my mother's really around? And I said, okay, she's going like this. I said, it's like you're swatting away a bee. She said, that's what happened this morning. I walked into the backyard and a bee and I was swatting it away. But she said, then I went into the front yard and I walked into a spider web, and then all hell broke loose. You have no idea what went on. And I said, well, your mom was there because she showed me all this, and she saw everything. And the client goes, oh, is that embarrassing? She was so embarrassed. So they'll show me things. Cool. So I see whatever I need to, and I do get a lot of symbolism. It's become less and less, which is fine for me, because sometimes they want you to be like Sherlock Holmes, to figure things out. But I am just
Are people kind of doing, I suppose there's multiple reasons why people are contacting a medium or for psychic reading as well. You know, they want maybe kind of answers to something, or they want reassurance. Maybe there's healing happening or something within, you know, when somebody has passed or something unresolved. You know, what are some of the reasons that seem to really,
Good
maybe even
question.
the more surprising ones, you know, that why people connect with you and need this?
So a lot of times people don't really know how their loved one died. There's
Mm.
questions. Okay. Was it purposefully that they OD'd, or was it this? I also, Spirit gives me some weird stuff to deal with. You know how there's a white chalk line that they put the body of, you know, in whatever position they found them. I could do that. I mean, I said at the very end, your husband went like this and just sort of went over. She said, yes. Or, you know, he was on his sleeping like this, on the bed when he passed. So, that's always interesting, that they want to know what happened, or if it was murder. And if there was anyone else on the scene, especially for a gunshot, or if someone was, you know, was shot, or they want to know what I could see. You know, sometimes I'll see it was a kidnapping, or, you know, or they went over a cliff, or it really depends how much. And I usually follow up with a friend of mine who does that as well and see if they can see the same things. So that's always interesting. And people who weren't there at the end and didn't get to say things. And I always tell them, the minute they crossed over, they knew exactly what you wanted to say, or what you're thinking about in your head right now. And so don't worry about it. They know everything. Okay. I had a very funny one, I said, I've got a woman laying on the top of a coffin, and she's holding a lily. Okay. And she pops up and said, I wasn't dead yet. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, what's that about? She goes, I knew it. She said, well, my mother was like in her deathbed. My brothers and sisters started dividing up the property, and this is going to be here, and I get that necklace. And she said, and I said to them, stop talking about that. You know, she could hear you in a coma or something. And she says, I don't even talk to my sister to this day because I was so pissed. She said, I knew it. I knew she could hear. So that's a funny one.
It totally is. And it's interesting because there's so many different ways people leave this life, you know, and pass on. And we did a bit of work when we were working together, and it was like, can you do a little bit of like remote viewing too? Can you look into that point? You know,
I see what I see. I guess sometimes you might say that I must be remote viewing if I'm looking at this girl going like this. And because someone has said, that's that woman you're saying, she sounds like two different people. It could be the same person. She said, you have to show me something or tell me something so I'll know if it was this aunt or that aunt. And so I go like this, and I said, looks like she's churning butter. And the client just looked at me and didn't say anything. And I thought, she's thinking, this woman is insane. Okay, I'm not even going to answer that. And I said, look, I'll tell you what I know. She's not plunging a toilet. Okay. So then the woman says, okay, you were right. She does churning butter. That's my Aunt Lulu. Okay. So they played with me, you know, but.
Wow.
Okay. So I'm working with somebody right now who is afraid of the other side. Have you ever had somebody, a spirit, come to you who's upset or angry or has I've never experienced that, and this person is just so scared that could be the thing.
Okay. We are all here playing a part, playing a role in a play. And maybe this time, you came and you're this lovely woman, and but you beat the dog or something. Well, that's not who you are on the other side. Okay, this is an experience. This is something that you need to learn a lesson about. And so they are only recreating it for me so that the client knows who it is. Okay, it's nothing to be afraid of, because that's not who they were. That's the lesson they came down, the persona they came down to learn a lesson and to teach somebody else a lesson. Okay, it's not who they are. So they have to act it out for me, or I won't know. And in the other side, they don't have any emotion other than love and gratitude and wanting to help others. So they're not angry at anybody. And if they're still a little angry when they get there, they got to go through therapy. They got to work out what they have carried with them. So, but that's not who their essence is. Their essence is the same. But we have to do that. So yeah, the woman I would probably come in and say, this man is walking back and forth and pacing, and he's throwing everything off of the desk, and he has a terrible temper. Well, he's not coming down to yell at her. He's just coming down to say, oh, that was my dad. He was, he drank. And when he was like that, but they're just showing me. So many times they tell me, when I did my life review, I couldn't believe how what I did affected other people. I was only selfish and thinking about myself, but I didn't realize that it affected them and hurt them so badly. And I regret that. And I am so sorry for all you deserved better than me. So we're just dealing with the life they just had together.
Yep.
Do you find, Barbara, that we often would say we can put our dead to work on our behalf, here, so sometimes maybe there's a family kind of they're all a bit unsettled. There's a lot going down after somebody
This one
passes.
isn't talking to that one.
Yeah,
There's
the usual kind of crazy dynamics. And in those scenarios, what I've, through my own kind of research and experiences, I'm like, just put those dead to work on that. So I'd say, okay, Grandma Mary, come down here energetically and help iron this out here, or, to put some more healing into the system, or to bring a bit more light or love or clarity or whatever it is. Do you find that would that resonate?
Yes. A lot of it's like crazy. I would say 90% of the people that I deal with, they're not talking to one relative, or the place is split and they don't even know why they're mad at each other, but nobody wants to do anything. And spirit will, sometimes they'll give me the name of the person. I'm not great at names unless they're weird names like Mordecai or something. But a lot of times they'll give me a name, and the client will say, well, that's my sister, or I'm not talking to her, whatever. And spirit will tell me, you need to call her. It's important that you do this, because, and then I go in and read the sister. I said, she's really in bad shape. She's very isolated and very, very sad and depressed and just wants her sister, but doesn't have what it takes to say she's sorry or do that. And so the client will say, yeah, that's what's going on. I know she really wants me to be around her, but she's a narcissist and I just can't. So, but I say, well, your dad really just wants you to reach out so that she doesn't feel so alone, and just say, I was just thinking of you. You don't have to go over there, but there's always something going on when spirit brings up somebody who's alive. Yeah. So I know when she says, well, yeah, I know Susie, but she's still alive. Then I said, all right, hang on, let me just read Susie psychically to see what is going on. And I said, she's just can't get over the loss of, her father, whatever it is. And they also give me little things they can do to warm the other side up. Like, I know they don't want to see you right now, but maybe just a little email or a little card for Christmas or their birthday. Just say, just thinking of you. You don't have to be the one who comes back on bended knee, and because it's not that, but slowly, just let it slowly soften things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they show me a lot and let me know that there's somebody who really needs them right now.
Mm.
Do you ever find, Barbara, when you have a sitter, or sometimes you might do it, I'm guessing with some groups of people might come,
Sometimes I'll do a group,
members of a family or a group of friends or something like that. And do you find that like more than one is coming in? Like, I remember that happening. It was like, oh my God, like the room's now full and you're trying to figure out who's got to go with who and how that works.
I hate that. And I do, if there is a group, I usually start it saying, okay, guys, this is not open mic night. Okay. Let's try to keep it at one point. I know I'm a little embarrassed about this. I was getting two, and I was in training for how to deal with two people from Spirit. And it really rattled me, because I could take this one. Anyway, I asked my dad to be a bodyguard and only let one in at a time. Nice. So he did that. He was at the door like a bouncer. And then someone snuck through. And so I had my grandma, and they've got a rifle and they're like bodyguards. And I told somebody that, and she said, that's horrible. You can't make your family, work for you like this. That's just, so I had to let him go. Okay. I had to, downsize with that and just had to deal with it. And now when I do a group, I find it's easier because I don't like more than 12 or something, except like I'm doing a group for helping parents heal in January, and there could be 100 people there. I don't know. I go around the room and said, who would you like to see? Who do you want? And I just bring them who that is. And, 12 people, I can get through 12 people with, your mother, she's, she was a little tipsy a lot and she smoked. And she always wore hats, but they kept falling in her face. That was my mother. Well, here's what she wants to tell you. So if I can do a little snippet for people, then I don't have to worry about them all coming in at once, trying to elbow each other out of there so they can get their 15 minutes of fame. So I have to try to work with the situation.
Before we get to the end, I'd love you to talk a little bit about helping the parents to heal. It must be one of the hardest things. We weren't put on this earth to, for our kids to leave before us. And I reckon it must be. It hasn't happened to me, thank God, touch wood, but it must be one of the most difficult situations.
It changed my life. And I'm going to tell you this little story. I had a woman from Helping Parents Heal, and her 6-year-old son passed. And I was doing a reading, and I said, ask him a question. I don't want to know what it is. And I said, your son is showing me that he was in heaven. He is riding on the back of a giant butterfly, having the best time in his life, dive bombing and laughing. And I said, does that resonate at all with your question? Because I don't know. She said, it sure does. I said, what was the question? She said, what are you doing in heaven right now? And she said, I went out and bought a book, how to teach how to explain death to his little sister. And in this book, she sent me a page of the book. There was a little that said, this is what your brother will be doing in heaven. He's riding on the back of a giant butterfly. That changed me. I said, it was just smacked me over the head. And the mother she believed, she understood that her son was there, and he put into her head, what am I doing in heaven? And he was there when you read the book to his sister. That can give somebody so much hope. That can lift them more than anything. I mean, that can put them on a high and it can make them believe. And when you believe, if you believe, you will receive. It's not seeing is believing. It is, you've got to believe it or you're just not going to see it. It's just trusting what you get and not thinking it's my imagination. Out that we all talk with our imagination. It's, trust it.
Wow, Barbara, it is really all about trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ultimately. And I suppose people will build that trust then as well, because that's a very, low vibrational experience to be going through deep grief,
Right. It's
at
the
level of loss.
lowest.
It's the lowest frequency. So like to be able to bring somebody, parents together and do that connection, it's, wow, that's really sacred work, like, isn't it? It's so, like, it's so precious. I would imagine it must change their whole life.
It does. And sometimes they just come to me with like a 1 second thing. I donated a reading to someone whose daughter had died. And I called her up. I said, your daughter was just here. And she said, my mom just broke a nail. And so I said, did you break a nail recently? She said, yes, my pinky. It broke and then it came off halfway. And then my toenail came off too. She just couldn't believe it. I said, well, that's just your daughter saying she's still around you. Okay. So they give me little things like that to just govern my mind. And I just call the parent and say, your son was just here and he's gnawing on this giant turkey leg, enormous. She gets back to me in 2 minutes with a picture of him gnawing on this giant turkey leg. Okay. So, and that just gives them, I wish I could do that to everybody, just make everybody that happy and that belief that their kid is still around them and to just trust it.
Wow. It's powerful work, Barbara, and you just seem like the perfect person for the job. Absolutely. You embrace it. You embrace the qualities. You kind of bust through all the myths and the kind of, the mistrust that can often come with mediumship and psychics and stuff like that, because, as I said to you before, you wouldn't choose to do this. You don't kind of go out and say, "Oh, I'm going to just go out and learn this and become
right." It's
that.
a calling. It's a calling, and I can understand how somebody doesn't believe this and thinks that what we see and what we do is real. I mean, if everybody knew we are all living in Alice in Wonderland, okay, and anything goes, and there's flowers as big as Volkswagens, they would just call the local, funny wagon and get us taken away. So slowly, everyone is going to open up a little, especially in the next few years. And once the ETs are walking on the street, then I think it's going to be a lot easier for people to understand that we are all connected.
I really want to encourage all our listeners to dig deep if you feel that calling or that urge to reach out and make an appointment with Barbara. Her website is bannermedium.com, BANNER medium.com. And we have it there. It's coming up on the scroll at the ticker on the bottom of the screen as well. But it's also in her whole bio, and the links to connect with Barbara are underneath this on YouTube, and it'll also be on our Spotify,
TikTok, and all of that.
There's multiple ways to get in touch with her. But I really think send an email, info@bannermedium.com, reach out, make that appointment, reach out and be the biggest skeptic on the planet and go and find out for yourself. And if it's for you, it definitely won't pass you. Absolutely, I think.
And also for those in need, I could do like a payment plan, which is, just I don't think you should have to be rich to have to know that your loved one is right there with you and just doing everything they can to keep you safe and have joy in your life.
How much does it cost, Barbara? Do you want to say how much it costs to have
Well, you're in the UK, but in America, my regular reading is $185, and the one that includes the question and answer. You can ask as many questions as you want, basically. And the other one is the same thing, but I bring in the trance message from your loved one with me in trance, and that's $205. And that is way less than so many.
Yeah. What a gift and what an opportunity, you know. So anybody who's feeling that, like feeling the loss and feeling a bit discombobulated after losing somebody, or, you know, somebody leaving when you don't expect them to leave, I guess, as well. Do reach out to Barbara. I think she's a beautiful spirit. She's a light and a gift to all of us, you know. And from all of us here at in12d, our hour is up, and I just want to say thank you so much. And I know Ramsey wanted to be here, but he got caught up in Peru. But we might have you back maybe next year.
I'd love to come.
I'm
I'm available. I'll have more funny things that happened.
Yeah, we could see what we could do. Might do something live. Who knows? We'll see. We'll be creative. We'll be inspired. But Barbara,
Okay.
from all of us here at in12d, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
And thank you so much for having me.